So my name is Rosanna Pagtakhan. Originally from Canada, grew up in New Jersey for a few decades. I've been in Virginia for a year and a half now, so I'm still fairly new here. I'm a recreational therapist, a town away, Portsmouth. I don't know Virginia still, but I'm over there, yeah. So my dad said cavite. I know there's another word he uses, malate, he says that one. My mom is Quezon City, Cubao. They both grew up there pretty much up until their late 20s. But yeah, they're from there. Enthusiastic and energetic. Enthusiastic in the sense of like the Filipino pride. Like, you know, anytime you watch TV and there's someone Filipino. Anytime I meet a Filipino, and I think just in general, like always kind of warm and friendly, at least on the outside, but very accepting, I think, as a whole, like just welcoming and like family. Anyone comes over, everything's ready for them, especially the food. Yeah, very family oriented. So my dad's he had a girlfriend in the Philippines. She moved over to California in their late 20s, and he followed her, proposed to her. She said no, flew over to the other side of the country, ended up in New York where he met my mom. And how my mom got here, it's actually super, super simple and interesting. So she was in the Philippines also until her late 20s. Her sister was living in New York at the time, her oldest sister. And her sister's like, hey, I'm pregnant, can you cover my maternity leave at work? So she flew over to New York. That's literally, it wasn't the whole like better life, whatever. It was, she was covered, he was following girlfriend. That is their story. Yeah.
I mean, both of them were chasing love, so.
That's true, yeah, there you go. Yeah. And then, so my dad ended up securing a job in New York. My whole family ended up in New Jersey from 1997 till we all left the house, whenever, a year and a half ago. I honestly, okay, so like I said, I didn't hear of it until I Googled it. I'm surprised that I've never heard of it because growing up, we had Filipino day camp. That's what I was talking to my dad about. But it's a whole creepy thing. I don't know if my parents kept it from me on purpose, honestly. I'm kind of surprised that it's a thing, honestly, just because of how, I guess, like Catholic and stuff, like, you know, there's different versions of like the devil and whatever, but all the mythical stuff, I'm surprised it was even like a Filipino thing, honestly. So I'm like, how because I always thought it's like demonic and stuff. I didn't think it would be even like an accepted folklore, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I might add a little bonus question if you're comfortable talking about it, but what are your thoughts on the influence of Catholicism on the Filipino culture, Filipino spirit?
I hate to say this. I think it caused a lot of I forgot the terminology, the generational trauma, a whole lot of that, because I hear all the time, and even especially like, you know, first generation Filipino-Americans like me and my brothers and things, like trying to break the generational curse, and a lot of it unfortunately does stem from religion, Catholicism. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but to each their own, and if it makes them happy, it makes them happy, but I do think it's caused a lot of negativity, honestly. I should have thought about these before I came here. I think recently, over the last year and a half, I would say for me, it's about being more comfortable being Filipino. I've never had that issue before I moved here, honestly. Because where I grew up in New Jersey, massive Filipino population. We had Filipino day camp. That was a regular thing. So everyone I grew up around, it was predominantly Asian. So I was like, I wasn't a minority there. And then I moved to the South and encounter a lot different culture than in New Jersey and New York. completely different. So for me right now, I think it's just embracing it more and trying to find more sense of community, because I know Smithfield doesn't really have a Filipino population. Any Filipinos I do meet, they're like, oh yeah, Virginia Beach and like other areas. So I think it's just getting in touch with it now. Like I feel like I already am not for the past year and a half that I've been living in the South.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of Filipino people down in like Virginia Beach and Chesapeake.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
But like New Jersey, New York, everyone is Asian. Like in my area, like the fact that we had Filipino camp for over 20 years, like there's enough people to have a camp.
Yeah, no, that must be quite a lot.
Yeah, that's the thing. So it's like that was everywhere around me. And I come here, I'm like, huh, a little different. I have no clue what.
No, you're good. Are you okay if I give a little bit of context?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so the ASWANG, they're these kind of like mythological creatures that were usually referenced as like in like storytelling as like these dangerous kind of monsters.
Yeah.
That'll like go after unborn children. They'll go after like this and that. And so it was almost like a scary story to tell children for like obedience and such.
Oh,
but a lot of
okay.
Yeah, but a lot of Filipino people have stories of encountering the ASWANG, and it's like a lot of Filipino people.
Mm-hmm.
And so just imagining that, I guess the Western equivalent would be like vampires or werewolves, like that type of thing. So imagining that, and that being what the ASWANG is, if they came over from the Philippines to like the US soil way back in the day, hundreds of years ago, how do you think they'd exist now?
I think they'd be, I don't know if that's the right word, extinct. I feel like it'd be all out of like, you know in Shrek when they go after like the weird one, the crazy one? I feel like it would just be like kind of cut, and a lot of also strong opinions also with that. Like there would be, I think, still a lot of people like, hey, I've encountered that. And then the other side, either if they do encounter, either kill it off, or I think a lot of people would be, they would be classified like, oh, they're crazy, they're mentally ill. So I think having ASWANG here could cause a lot of stigma if there was here. So either stigma or dead. One or the other. So I think I touched on this a tiny bit, like the generational trauma. So it'd be cool to hear a lot less of that, because especially now with social media, I see it all the time with like the Filipino generational trauma, asking like personal questions or kind of, you know, butting in when not respecting boundaries is like the big thing there. So hoping that we experience less of that and just be more comfortable in our own skin. And even like from what I was saying about living in Virginia, just being American, like, you know, of course proud to be Filipino-American, but not so focused on like minority, odd one out kind of. So just more integration overall.